Hello, Swadika. I'm Natalie, military journalist from BBC News. As a political movement in Thailand in this moment, the U.S. government is trying to encourage the people to resist the Thai government and nations. Use the United Nations to put pressure on the Thai government and nations. Hence, I would like to statement to the United Nations. Dear His Excellency Mr. Ban Ki-moon, UN Secretary General, His Excellency Mr. Jeffrey Feltman, Under Secretary General for Political Affairs, and Mr. Miroslav Jenka, Assistant Secretary General in Political Affairs. I would like to present my information that there is a Thai posting on the Facebook mentioned that he has to honor to briefing invite to visit UN Assistant Secretary General for Political Affairs, Mr. Miroslav Jenka, during his 2-day visit to Thailand to share his view on how to find more than effective way to bring Thailand back to democracy and to respect human rights. Mr. Jenka told him that when UN Secretary General met General Prayut Chan-o-cha, Thai Prime Minister in New York, a brief meeting in which Jenka himself was present. But then pleasantly were exchanged. Jenka told him that why the UN was stripped to do more. I would like to show a document to the UN agency that there are some group of people who is the one of the former Prime Minister who is a prisoner, cooperate to the US government under the US political and diplomatic charge of the US react in Thailand in order to overthrow the Thailand government and NCPO. By permitting the ambassador and chair the affair of the US are interventing in the international affair. With regard, the US government put pressure to the Thai government to solve the Thailand national security law related to the monarchy, trying to create in the political pressure, trying to force military to be lawlessness, to provoke conflict in the Thai people because of Thai government is solving in some problems seriously. And the Thai cause is pending for the pledging rights and drafting for constitution and suppression in the corrupt politician, which is useful to the all if there's people get back in political power. This issue is important that the US government is trying to encourage the people to resist the Thai government and nations. For you, the United Nations, to put pressure on the Thai government and battle. The United States of America had been tried to interfere domestic politics, law and national security in my country. I realized that the foreign policy of the United States looked very threatening to my country, especially to trying to intervene in Thailand society by supporting a conflict and encouraging lawlessness. Such actions are damaging peace in the region. I don't agree what American government react to the Thai people. I need to protect my national sovereignty of Thailand, to protect our liberty to peace of Thailand. I do believe that the United States government is trying to interfere with the system in Thailand by supporting the remove some of the national security law related to the royal institution and create political pressure to the stimulus conflict in between people in Thailand. More seriously, the US government by the Charity Affair and Ambassador of US in Thailand would like to put pressure in Thai army and government in order to return back in election repeatedly. The fact Thailand is yet ready to return back to election because of failure in the political of Thailand due to Thai corrupt politicians who doesn't respect in Thai law. The reform have not been completed. Also, the Thai government, which under the leadership of Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha, has a target to resolve all problems of the country in the aspect of the end conflict caused by corrupt politicians. All people in the country are free from the exploitation, persecution from the politicians and able to build in a career, earn a living by the public without having to depend on the politician. This event may take for a long time. The U.S. government is trying to speed up the game into election as soon as possible. It will be further undermined for the stability of the country. Therefore, we cannot agree what the U.S. does with the Thai government and army. The U.S. had no right to intervene the internal affairs of Thailand, no right to live in Thailand. Me and Thai people believe that the government under the leadership of Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha able to solve the political problem by ourselves. Previously, Icewater reporters who has interviewed Christy Kenney, former ambassador of the United States of America, she answered me some question about the result in Thai politics that the U.S. will not interfere to Thai politics. Thai have to solve the political problem by himself. Nowadays, the U.S. government, including the Shah, the fair, and U.S. diplomat, didn't keep their word anymore. So, we have to reform everything before the election. We must have a good government and democracy in our direction. We must stop corruption in our country without interfere by the U.S. government. We know what is the real problem in our country. Finally, the Thai army need to have a political role because of the stopping the civil war due to failure of the political corruption by politician corruption and rescue the Thai people and the foreigners who live in the country, survive the political crisis that have happened. In international law of the United Nations, it told that every state had their own sovereignty. This means the sovereignty is that states should protect by people in those states. Western powers such as the United States of America cannot come to sanction or manipulate their power in Thailand or any region. I do believe there are more countries that have been affected from the action of the U.S. government. His Excellency, this will not happen if the U.S. government continues to threaten other countries. Regarding the military relationship between Royal Thai military and U.S. military is still going well, and they are always enhanced relationship together. For example, the Cover Grow exercise, the military is still fully training, but the U.S. ambassador and share the affair says reduce in the supporting training. Therefore, journalists is necessary to ask you and the political department of the United Nations to stop threatening of the Thai government. The U.S. ambassador and share the affair of Thailand and give the Thai government and Thailand is solving problem ourselves. For academician, he knew everything what military are for, but the real reason that he had to strip and too much reveal himself because he have lost political benefit from red politicians of some political party. Because the military took over management of the country has been recognized by public rather than politician elect. case ambassador and share the affair of the U.S. government intervention in the internal affair to for Thai government to hold election as soon as possible. I ask you what U.S. diplomats intervene in the internal affair of the Kingdom of Thailand and violate the monarchy of Thailand. The United States of America is democracy. The United States of America is to give freedom to the criminal case, corruption, the abolition of the maximum sabotage case, undermine the national security of the prisoner who escaped from Thailand. Is that alright? I would like to suggest the U.S. government, if you want to continue a good relationship with my country, you should bring ambassador and share the affair back to your country and unite with your abhorrent government, put all effort into helping your own people to be the better live. There are no right to interfere to another country. This not ambassador and not share the affair, but is clown. His Excellency, I would be appreciated if you and want the U.S. ambassador and share the affair, and the U.S. government have to understood and stop to doing this action to my country and our region. Thank you.